1984 by George Orwell, condensed for those who don't have the patience to read. In the year 1984, the world is divided into three superstates: Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia. Oceania is ruled by the party, which imposes its absolute authority over every aspect of life. At its head is the mysterious and omnipotent Big Brother, whose face is everywhere, on posters, coins, and broadcasted across telescreens, which are present in every home, workplace, and public space. These telescreens are both tools of communication and surveillance, ensuring that every citizen is constantly being watched, both seen and heard. The famous slogan, "Big Brother is watching you," dominates the lives of the citizens, a chilling reminder of the party's total control. Winston Smith, a thin, frail, and downtrodden 39-year-old man, works in the Ministry of Truth. Despite the grandiose name, the ministry's purpose is not to reveal the truth, but to continuously manipulate it. Winston's job, along with countless others, is to alter past records, ensuring that history always aligns with the party's current claims. If the party says it has always been at war with Eurasia, Winston must erase any documents that indicate otherwise. Every day, history is rewritten to match the party's ever-shifting narrative. This destruction of facts, of objective reality, is part of a broader project to control not just the actions but also the minds of Oceania's people. The ministry's official slogan sums up its terrifying power: war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. The world Winston lives in is bleak and oppressive. The once vibrant streets of Airstrip 1, the new name for Britain, are now gray and decrepit. Everything is in short supply: food, luxuries, and even freedom. The people are kept in a constant state of deprivation and fear. The party deliberately maintains a perpetual state of war with one of the other superstates, ensuring that the population remains united against a common enemy and too distracted to question their rulers. It is a world devoid of beauty and joy, where personal relationships are forbidden and trust is a distant memory. Though outwardly Winston conforms to the party's expectations, inwardly he harbors deep hatred for the regime. He despises Big Brother, the face of the party, and secretly yearns for rebellion. His rebellion begins in a small, seemingly insignificant way. He starts keeping a diary. In this world, even the act of writing one's private thoughts is dangerous, a thought crime, punishable by death. In the privacy of his small, dilapidated apartment, Winston hides in a corner just out of sight of the telescreen and begins to pour his feelings into words. His first entry: "Down with Big Brother." Writing this fills Winston with both terror and exhilaration. He knows that if the thought police discover the diary, it will mean his death, or worse, the slow erasure of his identity and sanity. Winston's discontent with the party leads him to reflect on the nature of its control. Then one day Winston encounters Julia, a dark-haired woman who works in the fiction department of the Ministry of Truth. At first, Winston is wary of Julia. He believes she might be a loyal party member, or worse, a spy sent to watch him. He even fantasizes about smashing her skull out of frustration with her apparent orthodoxy. However, his perceptions change when one day, Julia slips him a note. The note is simple but shocking. It reads, "I love you." Julia and Winston begin a secret affair, meeting in hidden places where the party's telescreens cannot monitor them. They make love, not just as an expression of physical desire, but as a form of rebellion against a system that seeks to eradicate personal loyalty and passion. Julia is less ideologically driven than Winston. She doesn't care much about overthrowing the party in a grand political sense. Instead, she rebels in small, personal ways, enjoying forbidden pleasures like sex, real food, and personal freedom. Winston, on the other hand, sees their relationship as part of a larger resistance. He dreams of an organized rebellion against the party, led by the secretive brotherhood which is supposedly headed by Emmanuel Goldstein, the party's sworn enemy. Goldstein is the subject of daily hate sessions known as the 2 Minutes Hate, during which citizens are encouraged to vent their rage at him on the telescreen. Goldstein is also said to have written a book that explains the truth about the party's control. Julia and Winston continue their affair in a room above an antique shop in the Prole district. The proles, or working-class citizens, are considered unimportant by the party, and they are allowed more freedom than party members because they are seen as incapable of rebellion. The room they rent is shabby and worn, but free from telescreens. Here, Winston and Julia find a brief reprieve from the party's totalitarian grip. They talk about the past, share memories of a time before the party's rise to power, and dream of a future without Big Brother. Winston's dreams of rebellion grow stronger when he is invited to the home of O'Brien, a high-ranking member of the inner party. Winston has long suspected that O'Brien might be sympathetic to his cause. When O'Brien gives Winston a copy of Goldstein's book, it feels like the validation Winston has been waiting for. The book explains in meticulous detail how the party maintains its power. According to Goldstein, the party's endless wars with Eurasia and Eastasia are not about actual conflict. They are about keeping the population in a state of fear and loyalty. The wars provide a convenient excuse for the party to maintain absolute control over society while distracting the people from questioning the party's authority. The party's true aim is not to protect its citizens or create a better world, but to control power for its own sake. Winston reads Goldstein's book with Julia, convinced that they are part of something larger. They believe that the Brotherhood is real, that rebellion is possible, and that the party's days are numbered. But their hope is short-lived. They are betrayed by Mr. Charrington, the seemingly kindly old shopkeeper who rented them the room. Mr. Charrington, it turns out, is a member of the Thought Police, and a hidden telescreen behind a picture frame has been monitoring Winston and Julia all along. Winston and Julia are arrested and taken to the Ministry of Love, where they are subjected to brutal interrogation and torture. Winston's torturer is none other than O'Brien, who reveals that he was never a member of the Brotherhood. O'Brien explains that the party does not simply want to punish dissenters, it wants to completely control their minds. Through physical and psychological torture, the party seeks to break Winston, to make him not just obey Big Brother, but to love Big Brother. O'Brien describes the party's philosophy in chilling terms. Power is not a means, it is an end. The object of persecution is persecution. The object of torture is torture. The object of power is power. Winston endures unimaginable pain and suffering, but he tries to hold on to his sense of self. He tells O'Brien that he still loves Julia, that the party cannot take that away from him. But O'Brien is determined to break Winston completely. The final stage of Winston's torture takes place in room 101, a place reserved for each prisoner's greatest fear. For Winston, that fear is rats. O'Brien straps a cage filled with starving rats to Winston's face, threatening to release them. In his terror, Winston screams out, begging O'Brien to do it to Julia instead. In this moment, Winston betrays the one person he thought he could never betray. His final act of rebellion, his love for Julia, is crushed. After his time in room 101, Winston is a broken man. He is released back into society, but he is no longer the Winston who dreamed of rebellion. His mind and spirit have been shattered. He spends his days sitting in a cafe, drinking victory gin and playing chess, passively absorbing the party's endless propaganda. When he thinks of Julia, he feels nothing. The love they once shared has been obliterated by the party's manipulation. In the novel's final moments, Winston gazes at a poster of Big Brother, realizing with a kind of grim satisfaction that the party has won. He no longer hates Big Brother. If you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button to be a part of Quick Reads for people with no patience. And see the description below to find out how you can get the original classic. Who knows, we might have piqued your interest.